Greetings, Mason Storm here. On today's episode we're going to be making a bit of a side dish. Something that I think goes well with quite a few meals. It's quite easy to make. It's spaghetti squash. Stay tuned. So we're going to begin by taking our spaghetti squash and we're going to be cutting it in half. We're going to be doing the baking method, which I think is the easiest and probably the best way to cook one of these things. I've had really good luck with it, so we simply cut it in half. Now it's really oversized, really big, so a nice long knife and just kind of rock it back and forth, and eventually you'll be able to cut through. It's a little bit of a pain, but take your time, go easy on it. As long as your hands are behind the blade, in theory you shouldn't be able to cut yourself. Most cuts in the kitchens are with round things, although I don't know if squash is on the top 10 list, but I know avocados are, so be careful with avocados. And now we're simply going to take our spoon and separate the seeds from the center of the squash. It's just kind of a scraping motion against the inner meat of the squash. And just take your time and work your way around until you can separate the innards to make it nice and smooth on the inside. And once we have them well prepared, we'll get out our sheet pan here. Put our squash on top of it. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of olive oil to the top of them. And then I'm going to proceed to rub the oil all around to get a nice good covering on the flesh of the squash. And then cover with a little bit of salt and pepper. And then flip them over. And then we're good to stick them in the oven. Now something you can do too is that fill the pan, like the bottom of the pan, with a little bit of water. That kind of seals in the moisture, because the moisture would have to boil around and outside, so it really locks in the moisture. But using a thin sheet pan like this, I'm more likely to spill it all over the place, so I'm not going to bother doing that. Instead, I'll just put them in like this. But if you had a deeper pan, a little bit of water in the bottom, fabulous. And we're just going to bake these in the oven at 400 degrees. And then we're going to check them in about half an hour and see where they are. We're going to check our tenderness with a fork. So we'll just take them out of the oven, we'll flip them over, and then we'll proceed to poke them with the fork. And if they're really tender, fabulous. If not, back in the oven they go, give them another 20 minutes, see where they are. Life is good. And here we go. We're checking them again. Now they look like they have a lot more cooking going on them just from the outside, which is kind of a good sign. I kind of forgot about these and put them in a little bit longer than 20 minutes, but from the fork test here, they are super duper tender, which means we're all ready to go to begin our extraction process. Now for the extraction process, what we're going to do is get a bowl out and then get our fork ready, and we just kind of frisk the inside of the squash and kind of flake it away, and it creates these nice little strings. Kind of like spaghetti, hence the name Spaghetti Squash. How real original. And it's probably best to do this after letting it cool down, but who's got time for that? So here I am doing it nice and hot, and it's quite difficult to do. If you have any sense at all, wait a little bit before doing this. And we just keep frisking away till it starts to separate, and then we simply deposit the extract into our bowl. Now once we got it all into the bowl and all extracted and everything's just fantastic, you need to go about seasoning this. Now I'm just going to do the old-fashioned, a little bit of butter, a little bit of flour, black pepper, yeah, black pepper. But you could also really go to town and make this taste like whatever you want. It'll really take on flavors. So the versatility of the spaghetti squash is pretty good. And just kind of a little bit of a mix up there and we're all good to go. As far as a side dish goes, it's quite easy to make and it's fairly delicious. I am a big fan. So let me know in the comments below how you make your spaghetti squash. And if you like my content, please like and subscribe. And until next time, stay awesome.